What would happen if you bought a home today and over the next few months, the market starts crashing? And next thing you know, after about a year or two, your neighbor sells their house for half the price that you bought yours for. And you just can't do anything except cry internally and watch YouTube videos about your latest obsession. It's a scary thought to have, but a lot of people still have this thought today. As a matter of fact, I just spoke with someone this morning that said, you know what, I just don't want to move forward because I'm just afraid of this idea. What would happen? I get it. So let's just take a deep breath and let's brainstorm how that looks like. Our story begins with a very beautiful drawn house. Yes, that is a gorgeous house, I know, that you paid approximately $500,000 for. Now, let's go over some things here just so we can get them out of the way. One, your loan amount is going to be different than what you paid for. So let's just say you put 10% down. Your loan amount is actually $450,000. Here's the reality. When you put your down payment down, that's gone. So I don't want you like thinking, oh, I want my money back plus more if I ever sell this. I think one thing we could all agree on in today's video before we even get started is you should not be looking at your house like an investment. Those days are gone. If you get extremely lucky, if you're in the business of doing that and you're in the game, maybe. But for all of us normal people, it's not an investment. We are owning where we live and we're doing it because of we want to have power and control of our lives and we don't want to have a landlord. Secondly, is your monthly payment should be about fixed. So fixed-ish. Here's what I mean. Your monthly payment has 5 different factors. I'm not going to go into this video. I've made many videos about it before. Here's one that I'm recommending now if you want to go watch it. But the 2 factors that are the majority of the payment that will remain the same is the principal and the interest. You might see your taxes go down as values drop. You might see your insurance drop or increase depending on values dropping. So that might adjust it, but that's really going to vary a few $100, nothing too insane. The monthly payment that you have, so let's just say in this example, your monthly payment's about, I don't know, $3,000. That's give or take the same range-ish that it should stay with, regardless of what happens with the market going up or down. You need to also know that you will only be impacted when you decide to sell. Please don't be somebody who buys stocks and checks their stock every minute. I have high blood pressure right now. It's not fun. I don't recommend you get it too. So trust me, don't be that. Don't check your value, house of your value every freaking month. Don't check it every year. Check it when it's applicable. Hey, where's the interest rates at right now? Oh, they're lower than what I bought it for. Let me see if there's some equity here. Oh, there is. Let's see if I can refinance. Just general rules before we get started. Let's say you bought your house. You paid $500 for it, but you're following the rules of Javier. You're only focusing on that $450 number. Okay, so in theory, if you sell today, not considering expenses, there's $50,000-ish there that'll be used to pay those expenses, basically. Here's what would happen. You're not going to immediately feel a massive crash. You're not immediately going to just see a massive reduction of value like within seconds or months or days of you owning it. It's going to be very gradual. What you'll start seeing, let's say you live in this neighborhood where there's approximately 4 houses that are exactly the same house as yours. Obviously, neighborhoods aren't like this at all. So you cemented the value of your neighborhood by selling it for $500,000. What's going to happen is your neighbor Terry, who is like, hey, I have about the same house, might want to push the value and I want to try to sell it for $510,000. What happens is they're going to be on the market and they're not going to get any bites. Months will pass, and if they're wise, they'll start reducing that price because the demand isn't quite there where they thought. So they have to be on top of it and reduce their price, right? Well, eventually, let's say they reduce their price and they eventually have it at $480,000. They have 2 choices here. They can continue as if they're not getting any offers to reduce until they start getting offers, or simply Terry can choose to just not sell anymore. So this is going to be one of the stoppers. Terry decides not to sell. Let's say a bunch of listings are on the market right now. They continue to reduce, but they eventually don't get any bites. They just choose to say, you know what, we're going to wait a year or 2. We're not going to sell. In order for prices to start dropping, sellers need to agree to sell their house for less than what the prices are going for in that neighborhood. And that will happen after months of price reductions. And it will happen very gradually. So let's say Terry is in a situation where he has to sell, like he doesn't have a choice. He's moving back to who knows what, and he doesn't care that he's losing money on it. He has to sell. Well, now Terry has cemented the new value at 480. Okay, so that's the first thing that needs to happen. Sellers need to start collectively agreeing that, yeah, we're going to sell it for less. So let's say your other neighbor, Julie, was like, okay, I'm going to put my house for sale. I'm going to put it for 480 because that's what Terry sold his for. And I'm hoping that that's what we get. Well, let's just say buyers aren't looking, or they don't agree with the price, or some other external factors is creating that, like, well, I don't know if I want to pay for that. So she has to reduce the price after many months, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. And then eventually, let's say she sells it for 420. Now, this is the new solidified price. And that would have to continue happening with an extended period of time for prices to start dropping. Okay, but let's introduce a second stopper here. There's eventually going to be a point where, let's just say we're just focusing in on your neighborhood here, or the houses were at 500 here, and Terry sold it, so now it's here, and then Julie sold it, and now it's here, right? So here's what happens. Eventually, as that price drops, the average monthly payment, or the monthly payment needed to buy that area or that house, is decreasing gradually. So let's just assume like you pay $3,000 for your house, right? So every give or take every 10K is about $50 ish of your monthly payment. So if prices drop, let's say prices to the point where Terry dropped it, instead of paying $3,000 a month, they're going to be paying $400 less. So now they're going to be paying $2,600 a month. You might start seeing a new flood of people coming into that neighborhood to buy. And there's two things that affect that monthly payment: the prices of the house and the interest rates. So what needs to happen? So as those prices drop, the monthly payment becomes more attractive for people, and more people flood the market. And if you don't think that's true, let me show you something. So here's the average monthly sales price for the area I serve, which is the Phoenix, Arizona area. Picked a random city, just under 3,000 square feet houses. And let's zoom in between 2019 and 2000 to now. We see the massive increase of value during COVID. We start seeing a price drop. I think the market should have really started adjusting heavily after rates started going up higher, like around here. Like they were like 3%. Once they started going 4 or 5%, then we started seeing this drop. Well, eventually went up to 7%, even 6.5, 7%. And we should have seen this dropping heavily. But what happened is it stopped. Why? Well, because the houses people were looking in this neighborhood that were 460, it's a massive price reduction. And then now they're selling for 395. So people felt, holy crap, there's this massive opportunity and massive deals going on right now. I'm going back in, baby. And let's just assume rates drop just a little smidge, like to like 0.5% or 0.25%. That also reduces the payment by like 100, maybe $200. So now that monthly payment is a lot more attractive to people, and they start jumping in. So then we have to consider that as values drop, there will be eventually like a point where the dam breaks, and that dam is holding back a bunch of people that want to be homeowners. So let's go back and let's address first what the first stopper would be. The first stopper would be sellers choosing to just not sell at a lower price and choosing to just back out the market and wait. Okay, so that's the first stopper. The second stopper would be prices would drop to the point where monthly payments make sense again, and people would flood the market again. And when I say flood, they flood. As I showed you with that city I just showed you, it went back in some cities to even more. Let me see if I can find one real quick. There you go, Scottsdale. Scottsdale, even though rates have been really crappy, the value has gone higher than it was when this massive increase happened between 2 to 3% of interest that was created because rates were in the 2 to 3% range. So if that's accurate, what would have to happen for a true market crash would be the people that are on the sidelines right now waiting to buy, and if you don't think there's a lot of them, there's a lot of them. They would have to choose not to buy when prices drop or rates drop. They would have to choose to remain renters or continue living in their current living situation than buy in order for the market to crash. So we go back here and let's just assume that happens. Let's assume prices keep dropping. Eventually your fourth neighbor decides to sell their house and they sell theirs for $380, and your new neighbor sells theirs for $350. And we just keep dropping to the point where your house is worth less than what you paid for. So let's just imagine that. It's about 3-4 years later. Your neighbor just moved in and they paid $250,000 for their house. Let's address something first. It's going to suck. It's going to suck big wee-wees. But let me give you some alternative perspectives. You've owned your home for 3 years. You haven't had a landlord for 3 years. You've secured the neighborhood and house for your family or for yourself, stability, if you will, for the last 3 years. You only lose money on your house when you decide to sell. So hopefully you bought with the intention of holding it on for a long time, because at the end of your life, when your house is being passed on to your children and your children's children, a 30-year mortgage is peanuts when you're thinking about multiple generations of family. So I go back to my original point. You should not be looking at your home as an investment. This is something that you're going to be giving to your children to pass on to their children. And we need to get back to that. Well, remember that our grandparents used to leave houses for people. But now our society has gotten this idea where we have to sell our house for every 2 or 3 years. And quite frankly, combination of consumerism, combination of our industry being led or motivated by people that are salespeople, like real estate agents are salespeople that need to sell lots of houses to provide their income. So that idea of selling every 3-4 years, like that that benefits them, benefits many industries of construction and lending and all kinds of stuff, right? But who says you have to sell every 2 to 3 years? Anyways, I digress. Market crashes. Your neighbor just moves in for $250,000. As long as you follow these simple rules, you should probably be okay. You bought a home with a reasonable monthly payment that you can afford. You have stable employment, or you at least have the skills where if you do lose your job, you have the ability to get another job that pays just as well. And last but not least, you created a really healthy nest egg before you bought a home, right? You have all these factors going on. And, if you are in a position where you think that our society is going to collapse and there's going to be massive catastrophes that'll happen, maybe you shouldn't buy. So, but relatively, if you're healthy, your family's healthy, you think you have faith in our society as a whole, then yeah, you did it. So I guess the point of the video, as every freaking point of all my videos nowadays, is your house is not an investment. Move over to the side. I probably should move my camera. Hold on. There you go. Better. Your house is not an investment. Stop it. Stop trying to make money and killing off homes. Unless that's your job, whatever, good luck to you. But don't look at your house as an investment. Buy a home intelligently. Like, have things in mind. I have a free PDF that you can download somewhere in the description. It's part of my Home Buyer HQ. It goes over the 5 things that you should, things that you should have before you buy a home. Don't be one of those people that are checking your value every freaking day and going crazy. Yeah, your value might go up, it might go down over time, but once again, you're in this for the long haul. You're in this in the game of like giving this house to your children's children. A 30-year mortgage, well, hopefully you pay it a lot sooner, with some strategies like paying extra monthly payments or extra payments towards your principal and stuff like that. So, these hopefully 20, 25 years that you own this house is going to be just a small piece of its history. You're giving this home to future generations. Don't worry about it. Cool? Alrighty then. Hey, it's Javier, the editor, who needs a haircut here. Have some final thoughts. I think I got wrapped up a little bit in the sauce of what market crash, like towards the end of that video. And I think it's a common trap to fall in. I want to first acknowledge that, dude, it is freaking terrifying. Like, to have to sink in a bunch of money into this thing that might lose a bunch of value over the next, freaking 5 to 10 years is horrifying to think about. And the obvious thought is, well, if I just hold on to that, I can keep that savings and continue to grow it. And maybe it gets better down the road. Or maybe I can just hold on to it and now it's still in my possession, right? I understand how that feels, and it's terrifying to think about. I also want you to know that a lot has to go wrong for this to happen. Not only like economically, our country, financially, the market, all that stuff. And Lord knows at least the signs are there that things are going wrong, right? Houses are too expensive, interest rates are too high, monthly payment are too high. Yet we still persist, and it's still working out, right? What needs to go wrong is there needs to be a fundamental shift in the way people think, because honestly, now more than ever, what do I know, right? I'm only like freaking a little bit more than 30 years old. But at least what I see in the sentiment from people is anti-corporate landlord, right? Like, no, we don't want to have corporations and companies be our landlords and completely abuse us. Now more than ever, there are so many people out there that desire to be a homeowner, to have control over their lives, to have a piece of something that's theirs, right? I think we need to fundamentally change a little bit how we perceive how long we hold on to these houses. And I've made that mistake. So I'm telling you from experience. I purchased and sold at least 3 or 4 houses before I got to this house. One of my biggest regrets in my life is I wish I would have held on to each one of those. The short-term gain of selling that house provided a good cash flow for the next purchase. But if I would have found a way to save and kept each one of those houses, I would have had a nice little empire to give to my kids right now. But right now, if I die, I'm screwed. I'm leaving my kids one place. If you can learn anything from me, is you're buying, you're holding for a while. And if you're scared of the market crashing, I don't think one video is going to convince you otherwise. You need to really deep dive into your soul and say why you're doing this. If you can't find a reason why, then just stay out. Just go ahead, keep renting, keep saving your money, doing your thing. But don't feed into the negativity. Don't be feeding that part of like, it's just going to cause more anxiety and despair about the market crashing, right? Keep an eye on your search once in a while. Go every month or two, just go check in on your, just like, the houses in the area that you're looking in. And if you're seeing a noticeable drop, then maybe do something, or keep an eye on interest rates as well. But do your best not to feed more anxiety to that monster by, watching stuff that's going to be super negative and, things are shitty. Americans are stupid and screwed and it's okay. So anyways, let's wrap up that video now. And just a heads up, sorry, I got to sell my body because daddy has to make his money for his kids. If you're looking for an agent referral anywhere in the country, go to homeandmoney.com/Javier, click a few buttons, get connected with an amazing agent. And if you're looking for a real estate agent in the Phoenix, Arizona area, looking to buy or sell, check out my channel, Arizona Javi, or just simply give me a call or email me. All my information is in the description below. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. See you later.